You have probably heard of blockchain.
The buzz around blockchain.
Blockchain is the backbone of cryptocurrencies. It's set to transform many aspects of our lives.
This is probably the place you might think it is changing the game, the financial sector. What if I told you it can do even more? The blockchain revolution is brewing, but it's not where you think it is. In this two-part special, I meet the farms,
到我们的低温发制间，看一下海参的一个发制的过程。哇
the grocers,
I want to show you something more interesting.
QR code on a fish.
and the startups,
So what do you need in the physical world is actually IoT, the Internet of Things.
trying to change the world of food with blockchain.
Now imagine if you could know exactly how many steps this free-range chicken took during its lifetime.
Can the technology behind cryptocurrency really help us know our food? I get a taste of blockchain and why it matters. The world is getting crazier, more complicated. So I'm back to help you make sense of it all. This time, I'm bringing you greater access, more engaging stories, and deeper insights. I'm going to tell you why it matters. So what is blockchain? To put it simply, it's a giant ledger that tracks the exchange of assets like money or goods between two or more parties.
Imagine all these are digital and are kept on not just one computer, but on many computers.
Like its name suggests, information about transactions are stored in virtual containers called blocks. These blocks are digitally chained to one another. This encrypted data is then made available to all the computers on the blockchain network, making it almost impossible to change data that's been recorded. This breakthrough in data storage is what experts believe will change the world. I find out exactly how from Dr. Julian Hosp, author of Cryptocurrencies Simply Explained.
And so why we do this is so that people don't work on things that are not related to some business reasons.
Julian is also co-founder of 10x, a Singapore-based startup. It's just 3 years old. Yet last year, 10x was among the best-funded startups in the world.
So here you can see part of our team. Our team is our asset.
Investors poured about $80 million into its initial coin offering, buying into 10x's promise of making cryptocurrencies spendable.
So at 10x, we started a bit over 3 years ago, and we learned about this thing called cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and so on. And so we thought, all these virtual currencies, how can we use them in real life? And so that's how we started with a debit card that people can connect to these cryptocurrencies, and then they can go to Starbucks and can go to these stores and they can actually spend their Bitcoin for coffee.
What other applications are there for blockchain technology?
All a blockchain actually does is, instead of me storing information on a company server, I can store this information on myself, and I can prove that I have not tampered with this information. This is what blockchain through cryptography allows.
How is that different from other databases?
It means censorship resistance. No one can censor what a new block looks like, one of these info blocks that gets integrated, and no one can censor the past. So I cannot just remove or add something, I cannot block something. So the censorship resistance is very, very powerful because it doesn't allow one party to tamper with something. The second thing is transparency. Everyone can see the blocks from today until the very beginning. So this means I can actually see what happened, what was the data flow. A lot of the data is anonymized, so I cannot see who did what, that's fine, but transparency in this system is extremely high. So I can literally see in money, did money get created? Did money get destroyed? How much money did actually move? I cannot see the participants. Now, obviously, an interesting application is finance, because I can store how much money I own, and everyone knows that I didn't change the amount. So yesterday I had $10, today suddenly I have $10,000. So I couldn't do this with blockchain.
So is the technology very advanced right now, but just not widespread?
So I think at the moment we are just dabbling around. We're testing and seeing what's possible. I think we are in the 1990s of the internet. So really 20 years ago. I think it's trying, is this gonna work? Would a user do this? I think it's really early stage right now. I think it's really great for enterprises, for governments to look into this, create sandboxes, create accelerators, and just kind of, no one knows exactly what are going to be the killer use cases in the future. But I think we're testing, and we're in a really, really, really early stage right now.
If a country doesn't invest in blockchain, will they lose out in the end?
I think a government that doesn't invest in blockchain is going to lose out. It's just like not investing into online. You would have lost out over the past 20 years. With blockchain, there's a lot of other really great applications. I'm very, very convinced over the next 20 years we're going to see it in all our lives.
It turns out, blockchain may well start turning up sooner than we think in one of the great pleasures of our lives, food. I'm here at Food and Hotel Asia, a biennial food and hospitality event. Aside from food to tickle my taste buds, the event also gave me food for thought at a talk on food provenance. How do we know where our food comes from? And how do we ensure that information cannot be faked?
I think that blockchain technology has an incredible application to provenance, to ensuring that what we see on a label is actually what we're going to be eating or drinking. We believe that one of the best use cases for blockchain technology is the supply chain.
I caught up with the speaker, Max Cantilia, after the talk. Max is co-founder of Anquan Capital, a technology company that specializes in building private blockchains for international companies. As someone who enjoys fine wine and food, he's excited about the potential application of blockchain on food.
Yep, so blockchain technology is always associated with cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Why food industry then?
Blockchain is a wonderful solution to looking at trust and transparency in that entire supply chain from the pig farmer through to the table. That's because the blockchain allows us to make every transaction transparent and available to every participant in that chain. And so what's on that label there, for example, can be entered into the chain and it will be seen by every participant on the chain.
So for example, if the technology was available, I could just take out my phone and scan the label and it will tell me exactly where this pig was from, when it was slaughtered, etc.
Even more than that, it will tell you how it got distributed from the farm to a distributor, how the distributor went to a shipper, and it will even tell you which ship this traveled on to Singapore before it came to the restaurant where you might be eating it. And you cannot possibly tamper with the information along the way.
Blockchain technology sounds like what Singapore coffee entrepreneur Pamela Chung has been looking for. Pamela runs a coffee academy and roastery called Better Barista, which trains and employs disadvantaged women. Ensuring her coffee beans come from a sustainable source is part of the ethos of a social enterprise.
Can I ask, where are the beans from?
The beans we're using today, they're actually single origin coffee from Myanmar.
Myanmar?
Yeah.
Now, is it really very important for your customers to know where coffee comes from?
Well, I think increasingly consumers are getting quite concerned about the provenance of food, right, and ingredients. Where does our food come from? You know, is it ethically, sustainably sourced?
So currently, how do you know that your beans are ethically sourced?
With this Myanmar coffee, We actually have gone to the farm, we've talked to the farmers and with our partners who are processing the coffees there. We try and see for ourselves, for example, the conditions of the farmers are good, right? And make sure that, money gets to them.
It's costly, right? And of course, a lot of time.
Yes. Yeah, so it is not an endeavor that, I think a lot of people can afford to do. So I think with technology like blockchain, where you can't go in and alter the information, right? I think gives us a little bit more ability to be transparent and authentic with that information along the way.
With blockchain, Pamela will be able to reassure her customers that her coffee beans are ethically sourced. For example, to prove that she has compensated the farms fairly, they can scan a code which she can put beside her label to see if a fair trade certificate has been issued to her. This will give her company an edge over its competitors. Which is why today, she is meeting with VeChain, a blockchain technology developer. Based in Shanghai, VeChain made a name for itself, developing blockchains for luxury brands such as Renault.
Right now, we try to make it more accessible for everyone, right? So if everyone has a smartphone, then it's easy to verify the origins of a product.
Yep.
So if, for instance, if I have a QR code that is already embedded on your package, all I need is a smartphone, and you scan it, and then it's verifying. You're able to see a photo of the product.
Yep.
So you're sure that it is the right product.
Yep.
And the most exciting part is here. So you're able to see the time and date every event has occurred in the supply chain and who was part of it.
Okay.
So this makes your supply chain very visible. Once that event has occurred, it's on the blockchain and you can never change it.
Right, so I can't go in and just...
You can manipulate the data.
Got it.
So as a consumer, I now can trust that what you say is true.
Okay.
That it's really from Myanmar. This is the day that it left your warehouse and this is the day it's made to roast. So I think that is something that the blockchain can help reinforce, that you're not lying and that what you put on your marketing, whatever you claim that you're doing, it's true. This is how the blockchain can help you. So I need to find out from you, like your processes, is there any element of tech involved? Is it all very manual, for instance?
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, basically how it works is that, like we work with Genius Coffee in Myanmar. So they run a processing center in the Shan Highlands, and they work with, the few hundred smallholder farmers there. So during harvest time, they will collect all their cherries, right, and bring them to the processing farm, and then Genius and his team will process it, all that, right, and then it finds its way onto a ship. The ship comes to Singapore. Singapore, we pick it up. It goes into our warehouse, and then when we're ready to roast it, it goes into our roastery. We roast the coffees, right, and we pack it into these bags for consumers, and then it goes out to all our retail locations online. So that's kind of the chain.
So what do you need in the physical world is actually IoT, the Internet of Things, smart devices like for instance, a QR code. Maybe to illustrate a short chain, we could have my colleague go to your retail store, have it scanned, and then we'll bring it here and have it scanned again just to showcase that the location is being detected at 2 different places.
So that means we're going to put it on the bag?
Yeah, we'll put a QR code on the bag and we'll take it to the shop at Plaza Singapura and then have it scanned. So the time and the location should be reflected on the blockchain. So as you can see, the coffee bean has arrived at Plaza Singapura. And also it's open for brewing. And there's a time to it, and there's also a location to it. Singapore Central.
Can we get more specific? Because actually in Plaza Singapore, right, which is a specific place.
So for demo purpose, we'll showcase Singapore East, Singapore Central is very high level. But of course, if we work together, we can implement that for you very easily.
So to
point the exact coordinates of where the scan happened.
Because that would be more useful.
Correct.
The potential of what blockchain technology can do for Pamela goes beyond traceability. In theory, when a chain has been created from farm to table, a mechanism to pay for a cup of coffee using cryptocurrency can also be done. And because of the transparency a blockchain provides, as a consumer, I can actually track where my money goes. If I don't want to only tip the barista, but also support the farmer directly, I can do so. The application of blockchain on food traceability is still relatively new in Singapore. But one country is going big with it: China. And that's where I'm heading. According to a 2016 report by the US Chamber of Commerce, China is responsible for about 86% of the world's counterfeit goods. That's about 400 billion US dollars. It's no wonder you can't tell fake apart from real in China. But here, the problem goes beyond high street branded goods into the food we eat.
With counterfeit food, the bigger problem is, of course, food safety. From adding melamine to milk powder, to passing off red meat as mutton, a slew of food scandals have rocked China over the last decade.
Since the infamous 2008 milk powder scandal, China continues to be a hotbed for contaminated and counterfeit food. A Pew Research Center study in 2017 found that 4 out of 10 Chinese view food safety as a very big problem. So you can imagine the extraordinary demand for information regarding food provenance here, because the stakes are life or death. So some food giants are stepping up. One of them is JD.com. The retailer is going out of its way to track as many of its goods as possible right down to the farm using blockchain technology. And I can access all of that unadulterated information from the comfort of my hotel room.
A simple search on the popular Chinese retail platforms tells me that the variety of products tracked ranges from packaged goods like milk powder and wine to livestock like sea cucumbers.
JD is Alibaba's biggest rival. It is the second largest e-commerce company in China. It made its foray into online groceries in 2012. 6 years later, it set up its first brick-and-mortar store here at 7 Fresh in Beijing's Yizhuang district. JD's flagship supermarket is 4,000 square meters big. Many of its products are tracked on the blockchain.
You notice there is a QR code in the package. I can open the 7 Fresh app and using the scan function to scan the QR code on the package. It shows me where it's come from and the manufacturing company, the farm information. This makes the supply chain of the vegetable more visibility. I want to show you something more interesting.
Okay.
小伙子，我想来一条这个鱼。You can see there is also a QR code on the fish body.
QR code on a fish.
And when I scan the QR code, it gets me to the detailed information page.
Okay. You know exactly where it came from and at which date, what time it was fetched and what time it was tested.
The Grocery Manufacturers Association estimates that a single food fraud incident can cost the company 2 to 15% of its annual revenue. For a massive firm like JD, which netted a total of 55.7 billion US dollars in revenue last year, at 2%, that can translate to a loss of $1.1 billion. So the fight against food fraud is serious. They are even opening up their blockchain to their suppliers and other companies so they too can develop their own blockchain applications for more secure and transparent supply chain management. Former computer scientist Professor Dr. Pei Jian is leading the development of this technology in JD. One of the most cited authors in the field of big data, Dr. Pei has more than 25 years of academic expertise.
When we say supply chain, we know where it is. But people have a hard time. I mean, typical customers would have a hard time to touch or to see supply chain. It's a very dry concept.
You can't hold it. You can't hold on to something like that.
Yeah.
It's intangible.
Yeah. But through this blockchain-backed service, the tracing service, now people can really use the benefits of blockchain to enjoy the rich information collected in the whole process.
Was it not possible before having blockchain technology?
Because for blockchain, one advantage is that you can have the information from multiple parties. And those parties may not even know each other, meet each other, or may not even trust each other. So blockchain provides such a technique to facilitate such a collaboration among different parties in an effective and efficient way.
Now imagine if you could know exactly when these mushrooms were harvested. Or if any pesticides were used on these vegetables. Or exactly how many steps this free-range chicken took during its lifetime. But in China, it already is a reality.
Today, JD tracks 14,000 products from 500 brands on the blockchain. And one of the first livestock to be on their blockchain? Sea cucumbers.
I'm in the province of Liaoning, and around me in the waters are millions of sea cucumbers. And you can see it for yourself.
What I mean is, you can watch the surveillance footage of one of the many aquaculture farms here on Chinese e-commerce website JD.com. On the site, what you see alternates among the close to 100 cameras at random. Sea cucumber supplier Xin Yulong Seafood Company chose to upload this onto their blockchain, which is then displayed on JD's website and mobile application. They do so because they want consumers to verify the origin and authenticity of their sea cucumbers for themselves. Why would a company go to such great lengths to demonstrate provenance? I wondered about that until I realized that a huge price difference exists between sea cucumbers harvested from different places. Take these sea cucumbers for example. They may look the same, but I soon find out that one costs $600 more than the other.
Okay, we're here in a room specifically for storage and preparation of sea cucumbers, which is a specialty of this restaurant that has almost a 90 years history in Beijing. And I'm also with head chef An, who has had 40 years of experience with this restaurant. An 师傅，没想到会有那么多的品种的海参，你可以先介绍一下吧。
我呢也想跟这儿考考主持人，我这个6个海参啊。这个有800，有5000不等的价位，每一斤的价位不一样。考考主持人，你给我来按这个价格给我排一下顺序。
好吧，好吧，我就猜猜吧。And from my limited knowledge of sea cucumbers, I know that the more spikes there are on the sea cucumbers, the more expensive. Let me try to guess which is the cheapest first, all right? So let me go for the one with the least spikes. This one has pretty short spikes, but this one looks a bit shriveled and a bit wrinkled. I would say that this is the cheapest. It's quite obvious to me that this sea cucumber has the most number of spikes, and the length of the spikes are also quite long. The longest out of all the 6 types I see over here. So I think this should be the most expensive. 我猜的对吗？
对，这个最便宜的和这个最贵的，是吧？
我猜对了。
对。
I'm right.
这个呢，这个参呢，差不多在1000块钱左右啊。这个呢，关东参是最贵的，
最贵的
日本对， 产业日本这个差不多在5000块钱一斤。
So, Chef An, you are an expert in sea cucumbers, but how about the ordinary Chinese folk who go to the market and buy sea cucumbers? Do they know as much as you do?
这个中国的百姓呢，对这个海参的这个挑选呢，可能不是太了解，因为中国改革开放30-40年，所以说百姓生活质量呢提升，也就在最近这一段时间几十年。在之前呢，像这种高档原材料，一般的百姓是吃不起的。
I learned that premium sea cucumbers from Liaoning, for example, cost a pretty penny because the waters they grew up in are colder. When it comes to fraud related to sea cucumbers, it is usually a case of consumers being conned into buying those of an inferior grade at premium prices. Nobody dies, but people are understandably angry that they are not getting the value they were promised. By putting sea cucumbers on the blockchain, Xin Yulong hopes to reassure their customers that the sea cucumbers they bought are worth every penny they paid. I'm meeting Li Shuangshuang from Xin Yulong. It is her job to make sure that each sea cucumber produced by a company meets the high standards expected by their customers.
What do you choose to show the consumers?
这些资料啊，都是在我们区块链的后台上，我们展示给消费者的这个区块链信息是从这些数据里边摘取的，一些目标性的指标，这个产品是如何加工的，生产过程是怎么样的，在什么时间段呢，在什么样的环境下来做这些事情的。 这些数据的这个展示啊，可以让消费者了解到这个产品具体是如何加工的，在什么时间加工的，它的这个前一端养殖的过程是怎么样的，苗种的阶段是怎么样的，这样从而能增加消费者这个信任度。通过每一个环节的这种数据链接，能够有效的杜绝这种区域的这个混淆。
下面呢，我们到我们的低温发制间看一下我们海参的一个发制的过程。哇！
It sounds like a very transparent process, until I find out the input of data onto the blockchain is a manual one. So the possibility of human error remains. So apart from the live stream of surveillance footage, why should I trust the information? I return to Xin Yulong's blockchain technology provider, JD, for answers.
Can I fake certain information and put it on the chain? Is that possible?
Very, very good question. You have very good insight into the business. Indeed, this is a great opportunity for technology. For example, we can use the IoT devices to collect some of the information like a temperature, like the environment variables, and then record such information directly into the blockchain.
I see. So it has to be like a machine process and not a human.
Not human, yeah.
So there's a whole infrastructure that is required for the whole tracking system on blockchain to be realized.
The Internet of Things, or IoT, refers to a network of connected devices. It is not only one of the big buzzwords in business today, it is also changing our everyday life. Today, for a small price, you could already set up your smartphone to connect to all of your electrical devices in your home. To control the lights, play your favorite music.
Here's a Spotify station featuring jazz.
Or cool the air, so it feels just right when you get back home. Here's the catch. It may not cost much to make your home smarter, but it will likely cost tens of thousands to automate even a small to medium enterprise.
Who bears the cost? Because it does sound like a costly venture. And would the consumer have to take up most or part of that cost?
The cost of building the first blockchain application is typically expensive. But as long as you enlarge the application domain, scope, then you will average out the cost.
I see.
So at the end, the cost will be low. That is also why in the next 5 years, when blockchain technology becomes the more standardization technique, then the cost will be lower.
So far, I found out that while blockchain is encrypted, it is only as reliable as the data it feeds on. But even if the integrity of data is assured, what happens if the physical product is compromised? The URL still points to the same link on the blockchain, but the product is compromised. Bitcoin may hog the headlines, but the technology behind cryptocurrency can do more. In China, blockchain is being used to trace food. What it means is you can access critical information about food products using this. A QR code or quick response code is like a bridge. It connects the product which is in the physical world with information in the digital world. Now, these patterns are readable only by machines. So when you scan a QR code, the machines translate that into information which makes sense to us. There's also NFC, Near Field Communication. NFC belongs to the umbrella of technology called RFID, Radio Frequency Identification. RFID uniquely identifies each item using radio waves. And for NFC, data is more securely transmitted via a higher frequency using a chip. Blockchain startup VeChain is one of the few in the industry that designs and manufactures their own sensors.
This is where we manufacture our chips, different kinds of tagging mechanism. So here we have QR codes. This is an NFC chip. You can wrap it on the package. When you open it, you will destroy the antenna. And this one is actually a new generation of like a two-in-one chip. In this chip, you actually have both RFID and NFC. Because it's very easy, it's very friendly to the enterprises because and RFID is actually very useful in the warehouse. You can scan it from a long distance and scan the products in batch. But at the same time, RFID needs special reader. So for the end consumer, the RFID is not very easy to use. So when it arrives at the retail store, you can only use NFC. So end consumer, they can just scan the NFC with their cell phone. So it basically meets the different needs for the warehouse and the consumer.
So I understand there are different ways to access a blockchain. Can you tell me more about that?
Right. It doesn't matter like QR code, RFID, or even NFC chip. It's just a way to tag the product. So we design different methods based on the nature of the product, and also based on the value of the product. Because if you tag the product with a chip, of course the cost is higher than a QR code. So we are actually working a couple other like wineries, wine producers. They have some high-end wine, which like over 1,000 like RMB or something. It makes sense to put like NFC chip on those products. This space is actually. So this is the wine, and you have the NFC chip here. It shows you how this NFC chip can be placed. So you use NFC chip to scan. Right now, the app is verifying the identity of this bottle. Once it's been verified, you can see what wine it is. This is the unique ID. And if you want to get more information, you have the product story, product description. And in the real world, you will also have logistic information.
Yeah.
Which technology will be your key to the blockchain in the future? The answer is not obvious. Consider this.
Now this is a bottle of a 2007 red wine from the famous wine estate called Chateau Mouton Rothschild from Bordeaux, France. If it is what it says it is, it costs a whopping $900 US. If it isn't, well, take heart that you're probably not alone because it is one of the most counterfeited wines in China.
One would expect the distributor of such rare wines, the state-owned Direct Imported Goods, or DIG, to go with NFC technology, which is more secure and customizable. But that's not the case.
So what are we looking at here?
So you could easily find when and also the wine come from which winery.
Oh, so it also gives you information of...
Yes, the winery was established in 1882.
1882.
Yeah, it's a very traditional family wine. Our wine center has more than 200 members. They all interested in tracing system. They're trying to make all the Chinese market understand that you can easily enjoy the wine in a much more safe way. But when we talk about the cost, they think, okay, it's too much to them. 3 years ago, we used RFID. It almost cost 1 yuan for per chips. But now if we use the QR code, it's almost maybe 10 cents. If we want more enterprises to join us, we have to lower the cost of the tab or the chips.
So in the long term, it kind of evens out the cost. And also, I think the real gain is the assurance that you can give your customers, right?
Yes.
Toast to that.
Okay. So now you should bottom up, right?
You too.
Oh, sure.
QR codes cost less, which explains why companies prefer to use this to access information on their blockchains. The catch is, what if I do this? I make a copy of the QR code and or this. The URL still points to the same link on the blockchain, but the product is compromised. In China, blockchain is already playing a big part in securing the food chain. Many food products now come with QR codes that provide information on where they come from. But I realize QR codes are far from foolproof. And if I wanted to, I could easily tamper with their contents. The URL still points to the same link on the blockchain, but the product is compromised. To mitigate this, tech entrepreneur Yaz Belinsky came up with a smart packaging solution. Yaz is the co-founder of Walimai, a blockchain startup that imports and distributes infant formula in China.
If you look at the industry right now, there are quite a lot of claims and hype around blockchain, and blockchain will inevitably solve the problem of fakes. And this is just not the case. Because even if you happen to scan the fake QR code, it will give you the result of this record existing on the blockchain, and therefore what's even worse than not protecting the product, but giving you a false sense of security in that the product seems to authenticate with the blockchain, therefore it must be true. And this problem essentially is why blockchain right now, it cannot solve the problem of fakes on its own, and therefore there needs to be something extra, and this is what we're doing.
So what's this extra thing that needs to be done to make blockchain really secure?
So this extra thing, essentially, it's a physical protection of the product. And the physical protection, you need to make sure that there is this one-to-one correspondence between blockchain and a physical object, something that you cannot replicate to an infinite amount of copies. So what we come up with, this is one of the older generation of the label, but still works the same. So as you can see here, we're protecting the product not just on the blockchain in terms of like digital protection, but also physical protection. And so the claim that we're making and the promise that we are giving to our consumer is that if this thing authenticates, that means that the product packaging has not been tampered with.
I see. So what I see right now is like a kind of a seal.
Yeah.
This looks like some kind of electronic device under the seal.
So basically, yeah. So this is a label, right? So it is based on NFC technology, and what you see in the electronic circuit here is essentially an antenna which is connected to an NFC chip. As I was doing, as you could see this dial kind of filling up with the percentages, you know, this is when the data exchange happened with the blockchain. and all the information has been checked with the blockchain. So this is what essentially what the consumer sees, right? So this is all the standard things, so tracking logistics information, some things about the product, and whatever you want to put in it.
Okay, that's like a huge list of what are these actually?
This are the scan locations. Essentially, we use this as our testing sample. So whenever we have taken it in any of our travels for demonstrations, it would be registered in the blockchain.
Oh, I see.
As a scanning event.
Okay. Oh, I see. So anyone who scans the blockchain also, the data gets put on an additional block, gets added every time someone scans the chip.
To the record corresponding to this particular product.
I see. So why is blockchain the way to go for you?
So you see, we're not the first ones who try to solve the problem of fakes in China. Consumer already lost any sense of belief in such claims. That okay, so you're telling me that you're only selling genuine things, but why should I believe you? There are 10 other companies that do the same and they inevitably fail. And so blockchain, in this respect, it works as a meta legitimator for us, because for us, when we use blockchain, the claim that we make essentially is that you don't have to trust us, you have to trust the technology. So as long as you understand how the technology works, we don't need to be convincing. So here, it works as a third-party authenticator for us as a business.
Babies have died after drinking milk contaminated with melamine.
300,000 others became ill.
Tainted Chinese milk.
China's baby milk powder scandal. Fears are growing around the world over the safety of Chinese milk products.
The 2008 milk powder scandal, which killed 6 babies and left 300,000 others ill, still haunts the Chinese. The crisis of confidence worsened when yet another fake milk scandal was uncovered in Shanghai in late 2015. 12 suspects were implicated for passing off cheap milk powder for branded products. Over 12,000 cans of branded milk products were compromised. I am a parent, so knowing whether my milk powder has been tampered with is absolutely important. I want to put Yaz's product to the test. I'm meeting his sales manager, Duomo, at a store selling the baby products.
What if I try to peel off the sticker very carefully and to avoid breaking the circuit?
Yeah, you could try. You could
Really?
try. Yeah.
Okay,
You
I'm going
won't
to try.
succeed. I believe you will never do it.
I won't succeed? Oh, it's ruined.
Yeah, of course. So this is our physical protection to prevent any kind of reuse or recycle for the product. But another thing, you need to use your cell phone to track it again. So once you have tear or ruin the level, you couldn't scan anything.
Oh, I see. Because the circuit's broken, there's no... It
Yeah,
doesn't
the
work
antenna
anymore.
is broken. So once the antenna is broken, the connection to the NFC chip is
gone.
totally broken.
I left China heartened, not by the state of the technology, which has a long way to go before it gets adopted by the mainstream, but by the smart and talented men and women I met, committed to using technology to build a better world, a world where we can trust our food. And that's why it matters.